Don't let Charlotte on the plane!
The royal flight was supposed to leave Windsor Hall at exactly 6:40 a.m. Everything had already been prepared the night before, security routes finalized, press schedules approved, luggage loaded before sunrise. Prince William, Catherine, George, Charlotte, and Louis were scheduled to fly to Edinburgh for a major royal charity event expected to receive nationwide media coverage. According to palace staff, the entire morning had been carefully timed down to the minute, until Prince Louis refused to get on the plane. At first, nobody understood what was happening. The convoy had already arrived at the private military airfield outside Windsor. Royal guards stood in formation beside the aircraft while staff moved quickly. Beneath the freezing morning wind. Charlotte had already stepped onto the stairs leading toward the jet. George was speaking quietly with one of the pilots, and William had just finished a phone call with palace advisors when he noticed something strange. Louis wasn't moving. The young prince stood several feet away from the aircraft beside Oliver Grant, visibly pale, not nervous. Terrified. At first, Catherine assumed he was simply anxious about flying. Louis, she called gently, we're late. But Louis shook his head immediately. No. William frowned slightly. What do you mean no? Louis stared directly toward the aircraft, then toward Charlotte. And according to one palace employee, his voice became so quiet they almost didn't hear him. Don't let Charlotte get on. Several nearby staff members exchanged confused looks instantly. William stepped closer. Louis. His tone remained calm. What's wrong? For several seconds, Louis said nothing, then suddenly grabbed Oliver Grant's sleeve tightly. The prince's hands were shaking. And finally, he whispered the sentence nobody inside Windsor Hall would later forget. Something bad is going to happen if Charlotte gets on that plane. The airfield fell completely silent. Even the wind suddenly felt louder. At first, William clearly tried to stay rational. Did someone tell you something? Louis immediately shook his head. No. Then why would you say that? The prince looked toward the aircraft again. And honestly, the fear in his face unsettled everyone standing nearby. I just know. Charlotte had already started walking back down the stairs by then. Concern visible across her face. Louis, she asked, softly, what's wrong? But Louis wouldn't even look at her. Instead, he suddenly covered his ears tightly and stepped backward. Don't go. That was the moment William's expression changed. Because according to palace staff, Louis almost never panicked publicly, especially not like this. George immediately moved beside his younger brother. Hey, he whispered, talk to me. Louis looked close to tears now, and then quietly said something even worse. I saw it last night. William froze instantly. What did you see? Louis swallowed hard. The fire. Nobody moved. Several royal guards later admitted they genuinely thought they had misheard him. William's voice became lower. What fire? Louis pointed directly toward the plane, inside. Charlotte immediately looked frightened. Catherine stepped forward quickly. Louis, sweetheart, planes don't suddenly catch fire. But Louis interrupted her. They do if Charlotte gets on. And honestly, that was the exact moment William made the decision. Not publicly, not dramatically. He simply turned toward one of the senior security officers and quietly said, delay the flight. Several staff members looked stunned immediately, because canceling or delaying a royal flight hours before a public event almost never happened without major political consequences. One advisor immediately stepped forward. Your Royal Highness, the press schedule in Edinburgh. William cut him off instantly. Delay it. No argument. No explanation. And within minutes, the entire royal departure operation quietly stopped. Pilots remained on board. Security teams stayed positioned around the aircraft, but nobody from the royal family boarded the plane. According to several palace employees, the atmosphere afterward became deeply uncomfortable because nobody knew whether William truly believed Louis or simply didn't want to risk ignoring him. Nearly 40 minutes later, palace engineers reportedly began conducting a secondary inspection of the aircraft before rescheduling departure. At first, everything appeared normal. Until one mechanic noticed a problem near the rear electrical compartment beneath the cabin floor. A damaged overheating component. Minor. But dangerous, especially during long-distance flight conditions. According to internal reports, the issue likely would not have caused an immediate crash, but investigators later admitted it could potentially have triggered an electrical fire mid-flight if left undiscovered. And suddenly, nobody at Windsor Hall was laughing anymore, especially William, because according to one royal guard, the future king reportedly sat completely silent for nearly 10 minutes after hearing the engineer's explanation, then quietly looked toward Louis. The prince hadn't moved from the bench near the runway since the delay began, still pale, still shaken. Charlotte slowly sat beside him, and according to one palace employee, the first thing she asked was, "How did you know?" Louis stayed quiet for a long time, then finally whispered, "I dreamed about you screaming." That sentence spread through Windsor Hall faster than any official report. By evening, the aircraft issue had already been classified internally as a preventable mechanical incident. No public statement ever mentioned Louis. No press conference acknowledged what happened. Officially, the delay occurred because of a technical inspection, but inside the palace, people talked, especially after Oliver Grant later admitted something privately to another guard, because according to him, Louis had apparently refused to pack for the trip the night before. And when Grant jokingly asked why, the prince quietly answered, "Because Charlotte won't come home if we go." 3 days later, the royal family finally flew to Edinburgh using a different aircraft entirely. But according to palace staff, William personally checked Charlotte's seatbelt himself before takeoff, and during the entire flight, he barely took his eyes off his children once. If you enjoyed this emotional royal mystery, let us know your theory below. Do you think Louis truly sensed something dangerous, or was it simply coincidence? And if you were Prince William, would you have canceled the flight too? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more emotional royal stories, palace drama, and hidden secrets from inside Windsor Hall.